So, welcome. I'm Ian from Flow North Yoga. Today, we're going to be talking about what is yoga. So, this can be quite a complex question. It can be very hard to explain sometimes, and you can often find that if you look online, there is many different definitions that are given. So, today in this episode, what I want to do is just try and break it down into layers of what's easier to understand. So to start off with, what is yoga? If we take the philosophy and the Sanskrit and the meaning and the definition of what the word yoga means, and we just push that to the side for now, and we think about what is yoga in terms of how I practice or how I see people practicing. So what you'll usually find is that when you first think or hear of the word yoga, something along the lines of leggings and yoga mats, water bottles, and stretching yourself into really uncomfortable positions is like the first thing that comes up. Maybe if you got a slightly different approach to yoga, you might think of like chanting, something like people sitting crossed leg, muttering the mantra Om. And although these may seem like two opposite things, they are all part of the same system. So when we practice yoga traditionally in the West, how we see yoga is almost like a fitness class, like a stretching and exercise class. Then, if we start to go a little bit deeper into what it is all about, we go to classes, we practice, we quite often find that teachers are saying things along the lines of like, be very aware of your body, or be very aware of your breath, or observe how you feel, or notice where your mind is at. And you start to hear these things that you maybe wouldn't really hear in any other exercise class. And it starts to make you think, well, why is this so important? Like, why am I here? Like, why can I not just come here and stretch and break a bit of a sweat, and then life is all good? I'll go back to whatever I was doing before. So the whole practice of yoga is to help you in such a way where you can start to break the patterns and break the cycles of how you think, how you feel, and it gives you the opportunity to, instead of being caught up in the madness of your mind that has the same repetitive thoughts and feelings going over and over again, gives you a chance to come away from that, to come into a present situation, but not to have your focus going outwards. Okay? So loads of people say, what's the difference between yoga and like going for a run or dancing or whatever? And within our yoga practice, the main difference is we are using these poses, are using these techniques to draw the awareness inwards. So instead of putting our focus on achieving something or doing something or trying to push ourselves, we start to bring our awareness inwards to notice how we really feel in that moment, how we're holding our body, where we feel we can be more open, where we can be more free, where we can let things go within ourselves, within our mind. And throughout this practice, if we keep trying to cultivate these mindful qualities, what we end up developing is a little bit of freedom from this tight grip that our mind has on us. And as we learn how to stay relaxed, stay present, and move consciously with total awareness, this is what starts to give us this freedom or peace. So quite often when you look quite deep into yoga, it's like, oh, yoga will bring you joy and happiness and peace and liberation and free from stress and anxiety and all these things, where you're like, wow, it's too good to be true. Like, how can I have all these things from just putting on some yoga pants and going in and stretching and doing a downward facing dog? And the thing is, it's not very simple and it's quite hard to teach. But the more we expose ourselves to this, the more we start to see these effects coming into our day-to-day life outside of the yoga mat. And this is the biggest difference that sets a yoga practice apart from everything else. Because when you manage to find that space within yourself where you can stay relaxed, where you can stay calm, where you can stay centered and focused and grounded, connected to your body, present to the moment, and all these things, then you will find that that same thoughts and feelings and that imagination that keeps running wild and these daydreams and fantasies that pull your life in a certain direction towards achieving and pushing and striving, which creates more stress and imbalance in our life. Instead of getting sucked into that so much, we have the ability to have that bit of freedom where we can actually just start to let go of those expectations, where we can actually just be a lot more content with just being where we are. And this is where a lot of this suffering starts to end. When we learn to just be who we are, where we are, without any expectations, and we just take life for as it is in each and every moment, then peace naturally starts to come up. This does not mean that this is an easy process. If it was easy, then everyone would be so blissed out and peaceful. But unfortunately, we have to go through a bit of a journey. We have to face ourselves. We have to face those traumas that we hold within our body that stop us from changing the way that we do things. We have to change that fixed mindset of those beliefs that we have and those values that we're adopting that may not actually be true, but yet we believe them and hold ourselves back. When we come into our yoga mat, it's inevitable that it's never going to be easy. We are going to face all these things like, why am I doing this? This hurts. I feel so inflexible. I feel like I can't balance. I feel like I can't do this, blah, 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 blah. But it's when we face all of these things and we manage to remain centered and in control, and we don't let those thoughts and feelings overpower us and ruin us, then we start to naturally feel the freedom. So this is how we mostly practice yoga in the West. And a lot of people say like, oh, doing all the stretching and doing all this isn't really yoga. And if you look at all the different paths of yoga, which we can talk about later in another video, they're all trying to get you to the same place. We're all trying to be able to find a path to rid ourselves from suffering, to liberate ourselves from the control of our minds and our body and our emotions, and to find that place of peace or enlightenment that is within every one of us. So when we practice meditation or when we practice other spiritual practices or yoga practices, we want to try to find this deep state of presence. If we are trapped in a body and a mind that is so full of so many limitations, then we're never going to get there. So we have to be able to work on a physical level first. We have to be able to have enough strength in our spine to hold our posture up straight. We have to have open enough hips to be able to sit cross-legged. If we can't even sit comfortably or hold ourselves comfortably, or we feel that even just existing and being in this body is a painful journey, then we're never ever going to experience that freedom. And the more hurt and trauma that we hold onto within our body, the harder it's going to be for us to go on this journey. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. So I'll talk a little bit more about the relations of holding on to suppressed emotions, trapped energy, hurt, pain, trauma, all these things, how all these can be stored within the body and the mind, and how yoga can really help us to release those. But for now, if you're just curious about what yoga is, why you should practice it, then I hope this gives you some inspiration to think, maybe it's not just a bunch of people doing child's pose. It may seem like that, but the more you try it and the less you run away from it, and the more you can bring your mind into that place of non-judgment, no expectations, the more we start to step into that space of peace and light and liberation. So keep in touch. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to set up another video to answer any of the questions, but I'll also set up another video so we can go a little bit deeper into what is the meaning of yoga, and we can maybe start to have a little bit more of a discussion. But for now, let's just give you a baseline level of an idea of what yoga is, how it might help you, and hopefully it might give you a bit of inspiration to check out how yoga can help you.